Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you here, midweek edition of the show as we get ready for college football tomorrow night. We'll have a full preview of the Colorado Buffaloes season coming up a little bit later. Deion Sanders and company ready for year two. Stay tuned to that. In addition, our friend Gilbert McGregor will be with us. WNBA schedule winding down of the regular season as the playoffs are fast approaching. We'll get the latest there. Also guest contributor, as always, to Legal Sports Report. And we'll also have the very latest of the National Football League, where we do have a former Pro Bowl player signing just minutes ago. We'll tell you who that is. But first, let's begin with a little college football news and notes. And this does feel like a pretty shrewd idea by the NCAA and maybe improves the idea of all these kids constantly leaving school to go to other schools. Now, that's not going to change completely, but would it change if the transfer portal was only a specific period of time? Well, that is what college football is looking into right now, as the Oversight Committee is recommending the sport move to a single notification of transfer window. What does that mean? 30-day transfer window only in December would be the opportunity for all players to enter their name into the portal and seek a new school. For the last couple of years, the portal has been opened in April as well. So this will be a meeting in October to determine, and if it works, the portal will open in December, it will close in early January, and then kids will have to decide which team they play for. Maybe this will curb some of the late movement in college football. Not going to stop kids from leaving and getting paid, that I can assure you, but maybe it will at least deter some from leaving before they really needed to. Meanwhile, the private equity group, which is a possibility of entering the National Football League, is now official, 31-1, as teams now can essentially sell 10% of their franchise. It's the minimum investment is 3%. If a fund buys into any team that's a public investment fund, must be a minimum of $2 billion committed, and a maximum of 20% can go into one team. Kind of crazy to think that teams are sort of selling to private equity firms. Those are all the owners of the NFL. How many owners' pictures do we have there? That's Lurie. That's Arthur Blank, right? I wonder how many owners I can name in the NFL if we just keep showing pictures of them. Jerry Jones, right? Who's that? That's not Jerry Jones? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? I have no idea. Who's that? Do you guys even know? All All right, waiver wire in the National Football League, of course, underway. Lots of players changing different locations. You know, certainly this is the day and age of the National Football League. We had a ton of players cut yesterday. And, certainly speaking that the bottom line is if you did not pay attention a couple of days ago to your favorite NFL team, it's going to look a lot better now. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, did they look a lot better? Our producer Frank does not think so, but Dalvin Cook has signed officially, according to reports, with the Dallas Cowboys. A one-year deal. He is in. And now he'll back up Zeke. So a lot of Pro Bowls there, by the way, between Zeke and Dalvin Cook, but a lot of Pro Bowls from like 8-9 years ago. So we'll see if this works for Dallas. Jamar Chase, his holdout or hold in, whatever you want to call it, officially over. He's going to play in the season opener, said Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. He missed all of training camp looking for a new contract. He did not get one, but Taylor said it was good to see Chase practicing with the team. Since 2021, he is 7th in total receiving yards in that span, 3,171. Maybe one of the bigger surprises yesterday in the NFL was the San Francisco 49ers placing Elijah Mitchell on the injured list. So certainly the backup to Christian McCaffrey right now looks like it could be Jordan Mason. More maybe a fantasy issue than anything else, but naturally speaking, we'll keep an eye on whoever backs up for the San Francisco 49ers. That's a valuable player in fantasy football. Kadarius Toney, not valuable at all. Hurt a lot, making mistakes a lot. He was cut by the Kansas City Chiefs, former first-round pick of the New York Giants. He did win a couple Super Bowls, so he's got those rings no matter what. And also Odell Beckham Jr., who was signed in the offseason by the Miami Dolphins to add to their wide receiving core, maybe as their 2 or their 3 or their 4, depending on how you look at it. Not available for the first 4 games of the season. He was placed on the physically unable to perform list. As many of you know, Beckham has played on several teams over the last several years, including the Ravens and the Rams and the Dolphins and the Giants. And it just seems like wherever he ends up missing a few games. And so that's going to start at the beginning of the season. Meanwhile, tomorrow in college football, we have 21 games in action, including 4 top 25 teams, games on Friday night, games on Saturday night as well. Looking forward to the full college football slate. We'll preview all the games tomorrow right here on NewsWire. Oklahoma running backs coach DeMarco Murray has been suspended for recruiting violations. His 5th season at his alma mater is going to serve a 1-game suspension this season after the NCAA determined he was involved in recruiting violations, and he contacted prospects, apparently, and their families before he was allowed to. Meanwhile, Amari Huggins-Bruce is back on Louisville's roster months after the good receiver transferred to South Carolina and participated in spring and fall practices. A news release from Louisville said Huggins-Bruce was expected to join the team for practice. They didn't go any further, said the South Carolina coach Shane Beamer. He said last week that Huggins-Bruce, by the way, was no longer with the program and didn't know where he was going, and now we know. So there you go there. All right, over to Major League Baseball. Full slate of afternoon games today and tomorrow. We'll touch on that in just a minute, but first let's get to the Chicago White Sox lawsuit. There's a woman who was shot in the leg at a Chicago White Sox game last year, suing the team and the state of Illinois agency that owns Guaranteed Rate Field. The woman was in the left field bleachers in section 161 when she was shot in the 4th inning against in a game against the A's. The Chicago Sun-Times reported she is, certainly entitled to do all of this and seeking more than $50,000 in damages. We'll see how this ends up working out. Major League Baseball last night, Dylan Cruz, one of the top prospects formerly in the Major League Baseball draft, ended up getting a couple of hits, including his first hit ever, a double yesterday. Patrick Corbin, yes, that Patrick Corbin, kept the Yankees quiet in that game. Astros have now lost 6 out of 8. Phillies have won 4 straight games. Aaron Nola, who has generally been one of the best pitchers in the National League over the last few years, had a stellar game yesterday, including going 7 shutout innings. Nola, after the game, very happy with getting into that 7th inning, not something that he's done over the last couple of months.
Important. It's been a while since I finished 7. Yeah, I feel like it was much needed, but it was good to get through the 7th and, only have to use 2 pitchers right there to finish the game. To get this series win right here is big, and, we can go out tomorrow and try to get a sweep, and it's big to come back to this homestand after a road trip, and especially against these guys to win a series and hopefully go for a sweep tomorrow and keep it rolling.
It is the Philadelphia Phillies trying to get their way into the number 1 spot in the National League. Also, the Astros, by the way, yesterday signed former Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, Cardinals outfielder Jason Hayward. He was let go by the Dodgers. He's back in the big leagues with the Houston Astros. Kyle Tucker coming back soon, but he's been out for a long period of time. All right, a marathon match yesterday between Dan Evans and Karen Khachanov. It was the longest match at the U.S. Open since tiebreakers were introduced in 1970. 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, 4-6, 6-4. Time of match, 5 hours and 35 minutes. My goodness. Longest match ever was 5 hours and 26 minutes. Meanwhile, Jannik Sinner pulled away for a 2-6, 6-2, 6-1, 6-2 victory at the Open against Mackenzie McDonald. Sinner, of course, was allegedly involved with some over-the-counter sprays that contained cholesterol in Italy, and used it on his finger and was testing positive for that, needless to say. 4-time Grand Slam winner Carlos Alcaraz wins and advances. He ends up winning 6-2, 4-6, 6-3, 6-1 in Queens and moves on to the next round. And also 2-time champion Naomi Osaka makes a triumphant return at the U.S. Open. She won yesterday and won in 2018, 2020. She won the whole thing, so it's a really nice return for her to see if she could win one of the big matches here at the U.S. Open. All right, coming up next, the Indiana Fever back on the court tonight with Caitlin Clark and company, and they are up against it. Really good matchup tonight, and Clark has been suffering through injuries. We'll have a preview of that game and also see if the New York Liberty can continue their run. They're 12.5-point favorites tonight. We'll run through the entire WNBA slate with Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News when we return right after these messages. So stay with us here on NewsWire. We'll be right back.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton, they will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. We'll be joined by Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News as we review the latest in the WNBA and go over whether or not Caitlin Clark is going to be an impact player in tonight's game. She'll win the Rookie of the Year. We know that, Gilbert, but how much will she be able to play tonight is the question. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Craig. Excited to talk about some WNBA hoops.
Yeah, and I think people may be surprised to see this line. The Sun are 3-point favorites tonight against the Indiana Fever, total of 164, and I'm guessing the injury has something to do with this line. Now, naturally we still have hours before this game tips off, but what do you make of this line and maybe the potential result?
It's actually a little closer than I expected. The Fever haven't had much success against the Sun this season. They opened the season in Connecticut, and they've lost all 3 games against them this year. And Caitlin Clark actually is averaging fewer assists against Connecticut than any other team in the WNBA. She's also averaging 6 turnovers per game against Connecticut. So it's a very tough defensive team. They're second in the WNBA standings right now. Actually, if the season ended right now, these would be the 2 teams that met in the first round of the playoffs. So maybe we get a postseason preview here, but maybe we see the Fever maybe get over that hump. They've played better basketball since the Olympic break came to an end. So I think the Fever can hang around, but I still think the Sun are the better team, and they have their eyes and sights set on the postseason.
All right, so now the New York Liberty have been a bettor's best friend. I know they didn't cover a spread the other day, but generally speaking, what they're doing is winning games by 15, 20, even 30 points. They take on the Sparks tonight. I don't know what has happened to the Sparks, but they have been rough since opening up the, second half since the Olympics. New York, 12.5-point favorites tonight, Gilbert. 163.5 is the total there. Since since they returned to play, they basically have been 5-1. So that's a really good record, covering the spread mostly. But this is a big line again on the road. I think the last time these 2 teams played, the Liberty won by 30.
Yeah, I was going to say last time these 2 teams played, it actually was in LA, and they won by 35. So it wasn't even 35. Remotely close. The Sparks have dealt with a lot of injuries this year, including one to star rookie Cameron Brink. Rickea Jackson has stood out for the Sparks team, but they're building for the future. They just blew a huge lead their last time out. So they're trending downward, and the Liberty are trending upward. They're doing everything they can to secure the number 1 seed in the WNBA standings going into the playoffs, avenge their loss in the WNBA finals last year. So it does make sense that they are favored by this much, even though they're on the road. They're a much healthier team, and they really are playing with a bigger picture in mind. And I think that they won't take their opponents lightly.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, it's time now for, the WNBA playoffs are coming soon. The Liberty are going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite to win it all. Las Vegas is saying, don't forget about us. In terms of tonight, let's see if we can throw a prop out there, folks, for Gilbert. We've got Breanna Stewart minus 120. This is to score 20-plus points in the game tonight. Sabrina Ionescu minus 106. And then on the Sparks, we have Erica Hamby, Rickea Jackson, and Jonquel Jones. Those are the names tonight. A couple of plus 360s I see there. The favorite to score 20-plus. Gilbert, that's minus money. Anything you like there?
It's really tricky when you talk about games like this because there is that blowout potential. So how long will the Stars actually play for the Liberty? But at the same time, I look at a team like the Sparks, who are an injury-riddled team. They have a much tighter rotation. Rickea Jackson had a huge game on Sunday in Dallas and couldn't miss. I think she made her first 8 shots of the game. So if you're really intrigued and want to get adventurous there might be some real value in Rickea Jackson if you believe that she can pick up where she left off on Sunday. Otherwise, I understand Breanna Stewart is pretty tempting, but if she plays limited minutes in a big-time blowout and they empty the bench earlier than we expect, I don't know if there's much value there with the Liberty players.
All right, now let's get into the trophy here. To use basically the term favorite is using it lightly. The Liberty and Aces minus 230. You can't even get good odds if one of those teams wins the championship. Gilbert, can you sell me on anyone else out of those 2 teams winning the WA championship? If so, I can get plus 184. This is 2 against the field. We haven't even started the playoffs yet.
I think I'd make a case for the Connecticut Sun. We talked about them right now. They are the second seed in the WNBA standings. They have some star power with Alyssa Thomas. They made a big trade to get Marina Mabry on their roster as well. And they kind of check all those boxes. If people always say defense wins championships, well, they are a defensive team. Another one could be another shout for the Minnesota Lynx. They're kind of quietly hanging around there, and they could finish third or second. They have Nafisa Collier, who is another WNBA MVP candidate. She probably won't win it over Asia Wilson, but those two teams, they have the star power, they have the identity, and I think they've been more consistent than the Aces, who I'm pretty concerned about at this stage of the season. I feel like they haven't shaken past of the issues that they've shown throughout the year. Yeah, and Gilbert, I think as we kind of come to a close here, the bottom line for me is, as we enter the end, do you think that the WNBA scheduling had anything to do with the way that the season is finishing? Because we're definitely seeing some more lopsided results since we've got out of the Olympics. And do you think that has anything to do with the break or not? Or is it just commonplace for the end of the WNBA season? I think it's a mix of both. It's been interesting to see how the Olympic break has impacted different teams. Like we've seen Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and some of the rookies actually find a second win because they didn't really get much of a break after the NCAA season. Now they get an extra month to kind of refresh and recharge. You can kind of see in their play. But you think about teams like the Aces, teams like the Seattle Storm, who had multiple Olympians, it was nonstop for them. So they're coming out of the break having played, having traveled to and from Paris. And I think that that's impacted a lot of some of the letdowns that we've seen with these teams. I know the Storm just had a pretty surprising loss at home to the Washington Mystics. So I see with less than, I think, 3 or 4 weeks left in the year, maybe we'll see some people shake the rust off and kind of break through that last win to close the season. But it's really interesting to see how that plays. All right. Well, Gilbert, great to catch up with you once again. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. Absolutely. All right. Coming up next, it's time for us to preview one of the top games in college football this week. I probably could say that about a lot of games, honestly, but one of the better ones, Clemson and Georgia, Saturday, noon Eastern. We'll hear from head coaches Dabo Swinney and also Kirby Smart. And then our very own Joe Lisi weighs in on the game. That's the sound off, and it's up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Week 1 of college football today coming your way this Saturday morning. Lots of really good matchups to preview. We're going to do one of them here on NewsWire. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. When they say heavyweight battle, this does apply. Clemson, Georgia, first game of the season, Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern. First game of the Saturday, week 1 season. There were games last week. There are games Thursday. Probably fair to say. Best game of the early slate Saturday between these two teams. Dabo Swinney is ready for the big matchup. Georgia's defense, well heralded, understood that this game could be a low-scoring one. Swinney weighed in on how good the Dogs' D actually is.
And over on the defensive side, same thing. Big, long, athletic, physical. Got pass rushers. They got some sub-package stuff that they do where they're going to get their best rushers on the field. You live in third and long on these guys. It's a really a tall task. So, one of the best safeties you're going to see in the country in 24, great player. But again, 13, 97, 11. I mean, they got guys that can get after the passer, and they're Georgia. So they have a few new faces, but they all look the same. They all can run. They're all strong. They're all physical. Not a lot of room for error with these guys. And good kicker, punter, dangerous in the return game. So again, that's why they're the number 1 team in the country, and you got to play well right out of the gate to have a chance to win a game like this. So excited about it, looking forward to it, and we won't have to wait long. Be able to wake up Saturday and get right after it.
Clemson will have its hands full, but so will the University of Georgia, even though they are ranked number 1 in the country. Huge matchup to begin their season. Once upon a time, these two teams used to play against each other quite a bit, not as much recently. Kirby Smart discussed the used-to-be rivalry between these two teams.
Really a great rivalry, a rivalry that when you look back, I didn't realize how many years consecutively Georgia played Clemson for a long time, but just a lot of respect for their program, what Dabo's done. He's done an incredible job. He's got a great culture there, a great environment. You think about their coaching staff, how intact it's been able to stay, how many coaches he's had going to be head coaches. And they do a tremendous job recruiting our state, and we go head-to-head with them quite a bit. When you look across their roster, there's a lot of kids that we were really close to, and I'm sure it's the same way with him. So it should be an awesome environment. I have so much respect for the kickoff classic game. Gary Stoker and his staff, Aflac, is near and dear to my heart, and has done a tremendous job in our state. And for them to take over this cause, I think it's a great event, and to have two teams like this, it's going to be awesome.
We'll all be watching Saturday morning, College Football Today. Joe Lisi will obviously be hosting that show with Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh. They're getting ready to go for Saturday. What about the outcome? Who's going to win the game? Here's Joe on that.
Huge SEC-ACC battle taking place in Atlanta. It's the top-ranked Georgia Bulldogs squaring off against Clemson and Dabo Swinney. Georgia has won 7 of the last 8 in the series, including this game a couple of years ago in Charlotte as a 3-point dog. They won that matchup 10-7 against DJU and the Clemson Tigers. Carson Beck, a Heisman Trophy frontrunner, leads the Georgia offense. Last year, Beck completed 72% of his passes for over 3,900 passing yards with 24 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. When you think of Georgia, you think defense, but Georgia also had the top-ranked third-down offense in 2023, converting 55% of their opportunities. When you look at Clemson, they won 5 games down the stretch by an average margin of victory of 10.6 points per game, including wins against Notre Dame and Kentucky in the bowl game. It's not going to be easy. I think Georgia wins, but Clemson does cover the 13.5-point number. Now, Craig, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Joe. The big line movement in this game in particular has been the total, which opened up around 49, 50 points, moving its way all the way down to 47, maybe even 46. So they're expecting a very low-scoring game coming up between these two teams. All right, coming up next, Jim Gazzale joins us from Legal Sports Report. We'll get into the very latest in Saratoga, up in upstate New York as far as horse racing is concerned, and touch on some DraftKings as well. How about North Carolina and the sports betting landscape there? All that and more when we return next on NewsWire. We'll be right back.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time to dive into the latest on sports betting. We will touch on some horse racing with Jim Gazzale, who is a horse racing expert from LegalSportsReport.com. And we're back here on the grid with Jim. Jim, great to have you back here on NewsWire. A couple of horse racing stories here and updates today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. The Saratoga meet is winding down, so I'm trying to cram in as many stories for you as possible.
I got you. All right. So, I always like talking horse racing as far as a sports betting perspective, because once they legalized sports betting several years ago, there were many that predicted that the horse racing industry would take a huge hit. I think we saw that maybe initially, but it has definitely built itself back up. And a couple of companies in particular, we'll touch on them, Fox and even DraftKings, are discussing just how popular horse racing continues to be, and the handle seems to be growing.
Yeah, and I think on the surface, that's exactly right. We've seen a lot of sports books get involved in the horse betting space. We've seen Fox Sports get involved on the broadcast side as well as the wagering side. A couple of years ago, they took out a 25% equity stake in NairaBets, the ADW Advanced Deposit Wagering platform for the New York Racing Association. And I was interested how the broadcast has translated into betting handles. So I spoke to a couple of executives at Naira and at Fox Sports over the last couple of weeks, and they kind of explained what the strategy there is on the broadcast side as they work to grow that handle. And obviously, Craig, when you have broadcasting hours that increase, you're exposing it to more eyeballs, more people are going to be betting on it. And I think that's, simple and easy to understand and an obvious sort of trajectory that they've rolled out over the last couple of years. When they have racing broadcasts on FS2, it's about 50,000 people that are typically watching those. When that broadcast moves to FS1, it's about 100,000. And this summer, as they've had in the last couple of summers, the national broadcasts on Fox for the big stakes races on Saturday at Saratoga, those typically bring in about 500,000 viewers. Now, they've told me that handle has grown. Last year, they did about $250 million of handle on the NYRA Bets app, and that's all throughout the year, and not just on NYRA races. It's whatever tracks that NYRA offers, which is upwards of 300 when you include tracks in the U.S. and abroad. This year, they told me they're expecting to do $350 million in handle on the NYRA Bets app, and part of that strategy is appealing to, at least trying to appeal to, a younger demographic. And they have young talent talking about the races, talking about what it's like being at the track, some insider information, if you will, on what's going on with each of the races that they're covering. Though they did tell me that they want to keep it a sports event, a sporting event first, rather than a gambling event, which is interesting because a lot of the complaints that I hear from horse players is that there isn't enough attention and time being devoted to that educational aspect on how to properly bet horses, how to read a racing form, and how to make smart wagers to ultimately make you more successful long term. So Fox did tell me that they do hear those complaints, though they do want to keep it a sporting event first, a wagering event second. Record handle last weekend at Saratoga for the Travers, which we'll touch on again here in a minute with this DraftKings story. But record handle $63 million over Travers Saturday here up at Saratoga last weekend. So obviously the broadcasts are working in helping to increase that handle. They're expecting to go over $350 million on the NYRA Bets app this year, Craig.
Wow. Okay. That's a big number there. Now, other big numbers coming in on the DraftKings app. We'll talk a little bit about horse racing there. I think what I find fascinating about the next story is that some of the sports betting operators are finding different ways to engage bettors, especially the higher end bettors for horse racing, and creating VIP experiences for them. So, Jim, if people are betting a lot on horse racing, what does that get them?
Yeah, so DraftKings really rolled out a sort of soup to nuts marketing plan at the Travers at Saratoga last Saturday, and they were the title sponsor. It was the DraftKings Travers, and that really afforded them opportunities to do a variety of different things. One being having a VIP suite. So for their large sports betting customers, their large online casino customers, they were able to bring them into the track, entertain them in a high-class luxury way with a trackside suite. And the executives at DraftKings told me really to show their loyalty to those high-dollar customers. Now, for the regular, for lack of a better term, for the regular customer, there's a lot of promotional material at the track. They're giving out hats and posters. Barstool, who's also a sports betting partner with DraftKings now, after that Barstool's deal with Penn, they broke that off last summer. DraftKings had its own set at the track on Saturday, where they were doing a live stream broadcast going over the races. So being that title sponsor of the Travers, the biggest race of the summer up here in Saratoga, really gave DraftKings the opportunity to appeal to just about every type of customer that walked into the track, whether you were playing on track and a relatively small bettor, you were given some freebies. If you're a VIP customer that's been in with DraftKings for a while, you were wined and dined trackside. And even for the player at home, every broadcast all throughout the day was DraftKings Travers, DraftKings Travers, DraftKings Travers, So they're building that brand awareness, especially in the lead up to football season, which I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a massive rollout in promotions by DraftKings, by FanDuel, and all the rest in states where they operate. So this was just an easy way and perhaps a more affordable way to attract customers in the lead up to NFL season, which kicks off here in the next week or so.
Yeah, it does. And numbers in sports betting are going to be up all across the country. That will include our next subject, which is North Carolina. And I know, Jim, the numbers were down for them during the summer, but that's not unusual, at least for me, for a lot of different places, especially until football comes back. And so I think that'll be the case for them too.
Yeah, and, to your point, despite the handle in North Carolina dropping in July, which we do see typically across the country, comparatively month to month, they did post a boost in revenue. So the sports books are winning. The state is collecting that tax revenue. So for the sports books and the state, it's been a positive trend from June to July. And one of the things that stuck out to me was this 12% hold. I believe it was about 12.3, 12.4%. And typically what we've seen over the years since 2018, those early years after sports betting started to become legalized across multiple states, was that hold percentage was around 6, 7, 8%. But what we've seen, Craig, and what we've talked about a bunch especially with these parlays, the sports books are winning 18, 19, 20% sometimes every month just on those parlays alone. So that's boosting their overall hold, boosting their overall revenue, and then in turn, boosting the tax revenue for the state. So I think what we're seeing in North Carolina, just a handful of months in, 5 months in, 6 months in there, but in other states too, we're seeing that win percentage for the sports books increase. So I'm definitely interested to see how that trend keeps moving as we get into football season and people get excited to start ramping up betting again with the most popular thing on the sports betting menu.
Definitely. And North Carolina's basketball menu will increase in November too. Thanks, Jim, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last 2 Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round 3. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton's actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. College football starts up back again tomorrow night. Brian Howell is with us. He covers the Colorado Buffaloes. They play tomorrow night. He's a beat writer for Buff Zone and also the Boulder Daily Camera. Brian, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you spending some time. It's going to be a busy night for you tomorrow.
Yeah, yes, it will be. I'm looking forward to it, though. It's just, as I tell people, after 9 months or whatever of talking about the next season, I'm just glad it's here.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, especially when you're covering one team every day, like you are the Buffaloes,
Yeah.
speaking of which, look, it's North Dakota State tomorrow night. Most anticipate, Colorado winning. I don't know by how many points. I mean, that's probably a subject for another day, but I think they'll probably win the game. But, I got to tell you, this team was the story of college football for the first month of the season. It was all Colorado, all Deion Sanders, all Shedeur Sanders all the time. And then after starting off 4-2, the wheels absolutely fell off, although there were some close games. I mean, this shouldn't have really been 0-6. If you just talk about some regression to the mean, maybe it's 2-4 or 1-5, a bad bounce here and there, a bad play on defense. But I guess that is the narrative. Is that fair? The slow finish has to be corrected going into this season?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I agree with you. It's it probably shouldn't have been 0-6. That they were closer than that. And I honestly, I know we want to focus more on this year, but I honestly think if they don't cough up that Stanford game when they're up 29-0 and lose the game, that would have put them at 5-2. I think they absolutely would have won at least another one and been in a bowl game. So I think they never recovered from that one. Not fully. I mean, they were still in games, like you said, but I think that one hung over them for a while. So yeah, I mean, they've got to prove that they can get on the winning track and not be 4-8, 5-7 again.
Yeah, and look, that's what everyone is, certainly looking at. Let's kind of move this over to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, who is arguably the most popular figure right now going in college football. I mean, maybe we could have made the case Brian was like, Nick Saban or somebody else, but it's not. Like, everything he says and everything he does always is making headlines. And, I think it's absolutely great for the sport. I mean, I love it. I love the fact that we're talking about a former player, a Hall of Famer that's coaching college football, but this is a results-based business. I think he understands that too. The results just are going to have to be better.
Yeah, and he fully acknowledges that, and he says he's the first to say that. The results have got to be better. He knows that, and he's also the first one to say, look, if you're going to talk, you better back it up, and you're going to deal with the backlash if you don't. He knows that. I mean, this is a guy that we know has been one of the brashest and most confident athletes we've probably ever seen. At least for me, I put him right up at the top, and I'm sure for you too. But he always backed it up as a player, or 90% of the time or whatever it is. But as a coach, he backed it up at Jackson State, and now he's got to back it up at Colorado, and he knows that. Yeah,
and Shedeur Sanders, he is 40-1 to win the Heisman. He threw 27 touchdown passes last year. He was not the problem. It was the defense for most of the season.
Yeah.
Do you think those numbers pretty much are repeatable this year? Better, worse, about the same? What do you think?
They should be better, and those are pretty good numbers. I mean, those passing yards was a school record. His completion percentage was a school record. Touchdowns was one off the school record. So, and that's with missing the last game and a half with injury. So, I think the offensive line was not very good last year. If they're better on the offensive line and can run the ball a little bit, then those numbers should be a lot better. I've always said if he gets good protection, he can be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. And, I absolutely think that that's a ceiling for him and something he can shoot for.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he's right on the cusp of that in terms of the odds. Now, as far as the deepest group that Colorado has, probably at wide receiver, although they did lose one player to injury. Is this a significant one?
This is not an offense to this young man, but no, he's a really talented young player, but he's a redshirt freshman, transfer from TCU, good player, Cordell Russell. But there's four guys that are really the top four for them, and he's not in that group. So, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, Will Shepard, and LeJontay Wester are going to be their four main guys. And so as long as they stay healthy, they'll be all right.
Yeah, and Hunter projected to be a first-round pick in next year's NFL draft, as is Sanders too. So we'll see there. Oh, okay. So now before we go, let's sort of shift over to, the daily beat of you covering the Colorado Buffaloes. I've been in this spot before with different players and coaches and athletes, And there's some unusual circumstances going on right now in that media room that you're dealing with, Brian, which is, Coach Prime, essentially doesn't like the way that his team is being covered by an individual reporter. We've seen some reports that this individual reporter is not going to be allowed to ask questions at different press conferences and things of that nature. We don't see this happen that often. It's been talked a lot about in national media, but I feel like with you sitting in the room, you have a much better understanding as to what's actually going on.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good, summary of it. Is that this columnist from the Denver Post has written a lot of pieces that that Coach Prime has taken as personal attacks, and you can see why if you look at some of the pieces. And he's taken offense to that, and called out the reporter at a recent press conference and said, "Why do you do this?" Just asked him, and the reporter couldn't really answer. And so he's like, well, until we figure it out, you can't ask any questions. And so, it's created a different dynamic. You got media people that have jumped all over him. And, it's a weird dynamic covering Deion Sanders in a lot of ways, but I get along with him. I feel like, I think in a lot of ways, he's much like every other coach I've covered. But in a few ways, he's not.
Yeah, and I think that's really what needs to get figured out. I think both for Deion and maybe even the media too is just some middle ground, because in the end he's trying to do a job, and the columnists and even you are trying to do a job as well. Usually these things do get sorted out, and I do feel like this has made a lot of attention about something very little that probably can just be handled off the camera. And I think in the end, hopefully that's the way that this works out. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. Yeah. Have fun tomorrow night. First game of the season. We'll be watching. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Brian Howell with us covering the Colorado Buffaloes as they open up tomorrow night. All right. We'll take a quick time out here on NewsWire. We come back. We've got some last licks. We'll go over everything happening in sports. Stay with us.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Carlos Alcaraz has won the last two Grand Slam titles at the French Open on the clay and at Wimbledon earlier this summer. He enters as the favorite.
You have a bunch of depth there. Francis Tiafoe, Ben Shelton. They will likely play in round three. The winner would play Djokovic, most likely, which would be an incredible match. I like Ben Shelton as a sleeper. If Djokovic is hurt, you never know. I think Shelton could actually be the guy that gets hot. The conditions favor him.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The leftover language would be the million shy of what Jefferson makes Jefferson a better player. If you want to believe that, I'm not sure I buy that he's that much better than CeeDee Lamb.
Tony Pollard's gone. He's now with the Titans. I was with the Titans a couple weeks ago. He'll be their starting running back there. They're going a different direction in Dallas, but it's all about CeeDee Lamb right now, the first of the other deals that they have to get done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. Time to wrap up the show with some topics here for our last licks. We'll hit on LeBron James and Bronny James getting ready for training camp. Also, Travis Kelce in the market for a horse, speaking of which, in horse racing. And also another pitcher returns back to Major League Baseball yet another time. It's time now for some last licks. All right, we'll start off with a podcast that LeBron James was on in Paris. I guess he recorded this a couple weeks ago, and it's just coming out now. That's my understanding here. It's called The Shop. LeBron James was asked point blank about playing with his son, Bronny James, and this dynamic of playing with his son. But really interesting topic came up that Bronny's on the court, and LeBron was asked, will he just be referring to you as dad when he passes the ball? Like, dad, you're open. Dad, take the shot. LeBron clutched that right away. He's like, no. The second that I leave my house and he leaves his house, I become LeBron and he becomes Bronny. And that's it. So there'll be no referring to dad on the NBA court. And as you see there in the graphic, dad, I'm open. No. It's going to be LeBron, I'm open. It makes some sense there. I can't even imagine what the situation must end up being like with both of these players. I've always said that this is one of the big moments in history. Even though we talked about it way too much, I will say that. It is one of the big moments when it actually happens in history. I guess that's going to be in October or November in a real game. All right, Travis Kelce getting into the horse racing market. All right, he's got enough money to buy a horse. You hear a lot about this, former and current professional athletes investing in horse racing. Jason Worth is one of those former Phillies outfielder. Yes, Swift Delivery is the name of the horse that Travis Kelce, I believe Jason Kelce may have some ownership in this too. And so why is this interesting a little bit? It's because of the name. The name of the horse is Swift Delivery. And, needless to say, I think it may represent somebody named Swift that you may know. Could be Taylor Swift. Could be, is it DeAndre Swift? You think he named it after the running back, DeAndre Swift? I don't think so. It's got to be after Taylor Swift. So that's the new horse for Travis Kelce and his brother, Jason. Meanwhile, another round for pitcher Rich Hill. He's back again in Major League Baseball. I mean, this is like a crazy story. I mean, how many times has Rich Hill pitched in the big leagues over the last, 20 years? He is the oldest pitcher to throw in Major League Baseball, I believe, in the last 5 years, and he's going to do it again, I guess, with the Boston Red Sox. He's pitched with the Cubs and the Orioles. As you see, the Padres. He's pitched with the Pirates. 44 years old, Rich Hill. I mean, I'm old. I'm a little bit older than that. There's no way I could pitch in a Major League game. But he is back. He's back yet again. And, he was actually pretty effective every single time he pitches. He doesn't throw 95, 96 anymore. But maybe this guy will actually pitch into his 50s. It's, not unheard of, especially those knuckleballers. They've lasted a long time. So congrats to Rich Hill, who is back for one more go of it in Major League Baseball. All right, let me get you all set up for the rest of the schedule here, the rest of the day, and then we'll tell you what's coming up later in the week on NewsWire. So Kaplan and Crew comes up next. They are on at 1 p.m. Eastern live here on SportsGrid, so make sure you catch them. Everything happening out in the West Coast. You'll get the latest there. Scott Farrell in the house, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Game time decisions at 6. In-game live prime time. And then tonight it is Gabe on Sports Rage. That's 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. live here on SportsGrid. Also want to thank our guests on the show today. Thanks to Brian for coming on, talking some Colorado football. Jim Gazzale from Legal Sports Report, and Gilbert McGregor on the WNBA. And, of course, thanks to our director, Luke, and our producer, Frank. Now, as far as our show is concerned, we're going to set you up for the rest of the week. Notre Dame takes on Texas A&M on Saturday night. That's the prime-time game. And Mike Berardino, who covers them and covers the Fighting Irish, he's on his way to Kyle Field in Texas A&M, and he is going to be with us on the show tomorrow, on our program tomorrow. So he will be with us. And then this weekend, also another big game coming up in college football on CBS Sports Network. You may remember Rich Waltz. He came up on with us last week. He is going to come on and preview UCLA's game against Hawaii, which is set to go Saturday night. So he will preview that game as well. So all of your college football previews, folks, all week long are right here. And then next week, we will dive into our NFL previews as well. Also, Bill Bender from Sporting News previews week 1 as well. So your home for college football betting and previews is SportsGrid, folks. We've got you all covered throughout the week. I guarantee the next couple of days of shows are going to be fantastic for you, especially if your love for college football is here. Thanks so much for watching our show today. That'll do it for our Wednesday edition of the show. I'll see you tomorrow morning for our next program here on NewsWire. Have a great day, everyone.